Hey everybody, today we will make the small sailboat. Some pattern need gluing since the segments don't fit on one page. Here I show you how to glue the segments of the small sailboat. Once you're done gluing the pages together, cut out the segments at the dotted line. Again, it's really important to cut out the pieces very accurately. Then I like to lay out the segments as it's shown on the overview. Here are the fabrics that I chose for this quilt block. Let's start with the first segment, which is part of the boat and the water. Cut out the fabric for number 1 on that segment. The fabric has to be 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch larger than the number 1 piece. You can either pin it or glue it in place. I love to use a fabric glue pen. Then cut out the fabric for part number 2. Again, the piece of fabric should be about 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch larger than the part number 2. Then take a postcard and fold the line between number 1 and number 2 and cut off 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now you place the fabrics right sides together and align the raw edges of the seam allowances. Make sure you align the fabrics in such a way that when you fold over fabric number 2, it covers all of the part number 2 of your segment. Now you stitch along the line between 1 and 2 and you sew all the way through the seam allowance. Here you can see the seam between 1 and 2. Now fold over the fabric, and I always like to glue this in place as well. Next, you fold the line between 2 and 3. This will be the next line you're sewing. Cut off again 1/4 inch seam allowance and align the fabric for part number 3 of your segment, the raw edges of the seam allowances, making sure there is enough fabric once you fold over your segment. I like to sew from the big piece so you don't have to pre-cut your fabric. Once you've sewn that line, you fold it over and then you can cut off the excess fabric. Glue this in place again. And here we go, the first segment is done. I always like to press my segments so they get nice and flat. Now you cut off the excess fabric again around the edges of the segment. Work your way through all the segments of this quilt block and then lay them out as it's shown on the overview. Now you can start sewing all the pieces together. With each pattern comes a short assembly instruction, which lets you know how to sew the pieces together. Align the seam allowances and sew along the line between the 2 segments. Once you've joined 2 segments, remove the paper from the seam allowance. This way you can press the seams open without a problem and you remove the extra bulk, which makes it easier to get a proper, accurate quilt block. Here you can see the difference between finger pressing and pressing it with an iron and even using a tailor's clapper if you wanted to. Now if you have matching seams, like the bottom of the boat here in this case, hold the pieces in place and double check whether the seams match or not. You can adjust a couple of millimeters if need be. And there we go, a perfect sailboat all done.